All right, welcome everybody to video number 5. This one is on drafting a thesis statement, which you will all do for your topic. So basically what we're going to do in this is figure out what a thesis statement is. Basically, it's going to describe your topic, basically what your presentation is all about. It will introduce a specific claim you're making about your topic, and of course, it must include the theme this year of breaking a barrier in some way. A couple things it needs to be is focused, so specific enough on your topic, something that's debatable, something where you pick a side, and of course, you make a claim about it. And we'll also be using a thesis statement template to help anybody who needs help creating their thesis statement. So let's go to that template. And for those of you who are missing Mrs. Garcia, there she is right there. So if we go, you'll soon be able to have access to this template here. I'll make this a little bit bigger for all of us to be able to see. So we're going to break it down into sentences. And basically, the first step is to describe your topic. Notice here it can be anywhere between 1 to 2 sentences. We use an example of Rosa Parks. You could say Rosa Parks refused to give up her seat in the front of a segregated bus to a white man. However, we're not going to be using that topic. We're going to be using the atomic bomb. So, since we already know a lot about our topics, as we've been studying it for about the past 2 weeks, we know a good amount about our topic. So let's start out with something like this. Clearly, the atomic bomb didn't just get created overnight. So we know that, based on our research, that a chain reaction was first created. A nuclear chain reaction was created in 1939 by the Germans. So we could start out with something like this, and this is going to be a work in progress, so bear with me. So we could say something like hundreds of years of scientific exploration took place before scientists in Germany were able to create a nuclear chain reaction in 1939. So that's pretty basic stuff for us. But I want to add a little bit more because we're not even yet to the atomic bomb yet, because we're just talking about a nuclear chain reaction. We could then add to ours that we need to know how this is eventually going to get to the atomic bomb. So we could add this discovery created the drive by many nations to create a nuclear weapon, which eventually helped launch the Manhattan Project in the United States. So let's take a look, see if that sounds good so far. So 100 years of scientific exploration took place before scientists in Germany were able to create a nuclear chain reaction in 1939. This discovery created the drive by many nations to create a nuclear weapon, which eventually helped launch the Manhattan Project in the United States. All right, that's pretty basic stuff so far for our topic. So let's now go to step 2, describing the barrier at the time. Well, clearly the barrier at the time for the atomic bomb was not having an atomic weapon. So we could say, again, we're going to add some more to it. We could say, back here, the Manhattan Project which was led by physicist. Now we're not going to capitalize that. Physicist. Yeah, thank you, Google. Physicist Robert Oppenheimer. Was created break the barrier of creating a nuclear weapon before the Germans were able to do so. So, I've talked about the barrier, and we know based on the research we've done that there was a race between the Germans and the Americans to do this. So what was done to break the barrier? Well, we know that eventually it worked. So I could say they achieved their goal on July 16th, 1945, with the first successful detonation of an atomic bomb. And this was a test. And clearly it worked. So we need to make sure there's something debatable now, something that is debatable related to breaking the barrier. So what we could say, something like by successfully gotta get rid of that red line. By successfully detonating a nuclear weapon and then using it during World War II on Hiroshima and Nagasaki, Japan, by successfully detonating a nuclear weapon and then using it during World War II on Hiroshima and Nagasaki, Japan. Barriers were broken in the scale and destructiveness of warfare with the creation of these nuclear bombs. So let's take a look and see if that makes sense. So by successfully detonating a nuclear weapon and then using it during World War II on Hiroshima and Nagasaki, Japan, barriers were broken in the scale and destructiveness of warfare. And we already wrote that, so we can get rid of it. So now we have a couple sentences here. Now we can now just take them all together. And what I did here with the Rosa Parks, I took all the sentences together, I copied them, and I pasted them. So now we'll see if it makes sense once we copy and paste what we've written. So copy this, paste it down here, take my second sentence, put it down here, achieve their goal, that one, sentence 3, and final sentence. All right, and paste it here. So if we take a look now, I'm going to reread it and make sure it makes sense, because we might want to, we definitely might want to modify it. So 100 years of scientific exploration took place before scientists in Germany were able to create a nuclear chain reaction in 1939. This discovery created the drive by many nations to create a nuclear weapon, which eventually helped launch the Manhattan Project in the United States. The Manhattan Project, led by physicist Robert Oppenheimer, was created to break the barrier of a nuclear weapon before the Germans were able to do so. I don't know, looking at that, I don't think it actually sounds very good, so I'm going to modify it. So the Manhattan Project, led by physicist J. Robert Oppenheimer was created to, how about we can say it was launched. Let's even get rid of the breaking barrier. Launched to create a nuclear weapon before the Germans were able to do so. Good. They achieved their goal on July 16, 1945, with the first successful detonation of the atomic bomb by successfully detonating a nuclear weapon and then using it during World War II on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Barriers were broken in the scale and destructiveness of warfare. All right, so that actually makes sense now. And now what we're going to do is we're going to take a look and see, does it fit our checklist? And we'll take a look here at our checklist. You guys will all have access to this. Are there 3 to 4 complete sentences included? 1, 2, 3, 4. Heck, I even have 5. 5 is good. If you have 3, 4, or 5, that should be just fine. Is there a brief description of the topic including this statement? Do we have who, what, when, and where? Yeah, we got some dates here for the when. We've got the United States for where. We've got another when. We got a who involved. So that looks good. Was breaking barrier used in the thesis statement? Yep. Here's barrier and broken. So that's going to be our main focus. Is the impact or lasting importance of the event addressed? Yeah, we're definitely talking about the destructiveness in warfare. That is definitely going to have an impact on a lot of people. Oop, wrong one. And is the thesis statement include an argument that can be proven? Yes, that would be this last sentence here. Most of the other stuff was facts, but here the idea that the barriers were broken in the scale and destructiveness of warfare, that is the debatable aspect where somebody could argue that some other weapon could have been worse. And is the thesis statement specific? Yeah, we're talking about creation of one atomic bomb and not the World War II itself. We're not even talking about the whole Manhattan Project. And last thing, is their correct spelling and grammar? Well, looks good for me. We already went through that. So it can be simply that easy. Make sure that when you are done with your thesis statement, you read it over. Maybe have someone else read it over to have it make sense. If somebody else reads it who doesn't understand your topic and it doesn't make sense, you're going to probably need to fix it. That's going to pretty much be it for us. So if you have any questions, obviously ask myself or Mrs. Garcia in your thesis creation. All right, good luck and happy thesis writing.